But when you take up leadership positions at any level in an organization, you're likely to come across uh, minute to minor to major ethical issues in decision making. Or that's why there is business ethics. I have been teaching business ethics for the last 10 years. As usual, I have gone absolutely deep into ethics, and I have created my own theory of ethics also, which I wanted to publish, but I don't think it is a good idea. Anyway, coming back, I just wanted to discuss some perspectives or some ideas so that you become sensitive to the fundamental variables which are together called ethics. Nobody is clear about ethics. It is just a vague word. So forget that word, but consider certain primary sensitivities of every being in the world. You know, what is that? The good and the bad. If you sit down and recollect, make a reconnaissance, make a survey of your life, every moment there is a sensitivity like a program in a computer operating, where the incoming data, incoming information, incoming image, incoming situation, incoming context, incoming person, good or bad. Wish you good morning. See, the session being fixed today, 9:30, was it good?
Yes.
See, even there could be the possibility of feeling good or bad about it. So, what is the concept of good? Let us not go into that, which may require some dictionary analysis. What is the referent of good? Why is such a concern for good? Even cats, they look for a good environment to sleep. Okay, every being is in search of so-called good. Good meaning what? Comfortable, convenient, pleasurable, maybe likable, acceptable, tolerable. The camel, the proverbial camel of the Arabian tales, it was standing outside. Its masters were inside the tent. Uh, there is scorching heat outside. The camel did not feel good. So it wanted at least its head to be kept inside the tent. At least that much of good. Good meaning good feeling. Good is just a suffix, a qualitative term. It can be added to virtually anything in this world. Good safety pin, good pencil, good pen, good paper, good book, good table, good chair, good food, good tea, good coffee, good house, good design, good setting, good film, good song, good person, good governance, everywhere. And that's the opposite bad also. It's a universal term, whether used it or not. Dog trainers say that even dogs understand when you say good. That means it is not the word that is transferring to the dog, but that energy of the trainer when he says good. To what extent your movements are controlled by what I call, like like Noam Chomsky, the greatest linguist in the world, who was considered for Nobel Prize even. He researched for uh, what you call the language process of the human beings for about 14 years after all his work in linguistics, and he wanted to identify what enables the human child to come up suddenly within 2 3 weeks such an explosive wonder of language. No idea. Then finally he just hypothetically conceived a what you call language acquisition device, LAD, somewhere in the brain. and he escaped. Similarly, I am also conceiving an engine inside the brain, what you call a good sensor, SCNSOR, like the sensors on the backside of a car, a continuous sensor of good, which is which is sensing almost everything around, every stimulus around, including the rain and the mist and the sun, including the birds, including the trespassing birds or the falling coconuts or you take anything. That sensor is operating, and when it cut across a certain critical turning point, you really feel it, and you openly say, "Aha, I feel good." Or the other way, the bad. When we discuss about good, there is also the bad. When any of this so-called good is or so-called item which is sensed not good, it is immediately put into the other compartment, bad, without any much training. And obviously there is training also. An inevitable training on the part of the parents to the child. Ah, you're a good boy, you're a good girl. And the child just does not understand what is good boy, good girl. And you're a project leader, a report comes to you, you glance it and you say, yeah, it's a good report. Or sometimes if it is a good report, you may not say that because you don't want the other person to feel good. Now coming to, I'm just giving making you to think about the so-called good-bad dimension that is plaguing. That is a major mental program of human beings. Of course, all forget about the other creatures. Good wife, good husband, good children. The good expression of the wife, good response of the wife, good behavior of the wife, good activity of the wife, good way of dealing with the wife, the good language of the wife. Or the good expression of the husband, good response of the husband, good behavior of the husband, good action of the husband, good ways of relating of the husband, the good language of the husband. See? So, what is this good? Why good? Where is that good impacting inside you? Same questions can be asked about bad. At what point, let us say, a good thing, if you, we can talk for hours together. I have been talking about ethics. My classes were complete with attendance without any compulsion. Some days I took class on ethics from 9:30 to 5 o'clock continuously. And the so-called modern students were ready to sit in the class. Why I said this is that much fascinating is man's concern for the good and the bad. Provided you invoke their sensitivity to that. That's my purpose here also. Of course, be responsive, be sensitive to the good and the bad. But to be aware to what extent your unconscious or non-conscious sensitivity to good or bad is remote controlling your movement in the location of your existence, your relationship with people. Okay, you are in a happy phase. Somebody comes with a little bit of a threatening face. Your so-called good mood is immediately affected. I told you, good, you take down the list. Good mood, good feeling, good. What? Great lot of things. Immediately, the so called good mood is affected. Good mood turns into a bad mood. Coming to that point, in general, people do not want the other person, other people, and the other. Everyone wants the other not to feel good also, most of the time. There's a good feeling in inducing bad feeling in the other person, for example. I'm just giving a documentary. We can talk about every instance in this world. As I told you, somebody feels good in injecting, in inducing, invoking bad feeling in the other person. In fact, most of the interpersonal conflicts are with that purpose only. Not taking a dagger and hitting. That's a different story. I'm talking that expressions, responses, behaviors, actions, languages can easily induce the so-called bad feeling or bad experience in the other person. And at the same time, very paradox is that it is not so easy to induce a good feeling. So even in the entity process, I mean human physiological autonomic process, it is extremely easy to induce a so-called bad feeling and rather very complex to invoke a so-called good feeling. Why? Why some people feel just like that bad about themselves without anybody doing anything? And the other question, why some people simply feel good about them without anybody else around, without anybody else so appreciation or acceptance or whatsoever? So where is the source of that good bad sensor and good bad process inside you? Identify that. That is one of the significant peak you have to climb in order to master the Everest of your entity. So that your feeling of good or bad will be absolutely under your control than the remote control of somebody else's expressions, responses, behaviors, actions, ways of relating, and language. You see, the entire world is controlled by this. Understand that. Chinese do not feel good because they think that Taiwan is a part of them. Unless Taiwan is under their custody, they don't feel good. That's all. The Islamic fundamentalists do not feel good unless Islam becomes the religion of the world. What is the problem? See, it is all primarily, that's what I want every one of you to think and create articles and do good lectures to the world. They are all trying to resolve, I'm just changing the topic. All these world leaders or somebody may be trying to resolve these issues by working at resolving great puzzles. Like the origin of every great invention is in the simplest thing, inevitably, invariably, the solution to this global problem is at the simple level. Some religious fanatic is not feeling good, that's all. Some stupid national leader does not feel good, that's all. See? Some CEO, some vice president, some manager, some project leader is not feeling good, that's all. In order to ensure goodness in him or her, he or she is planning a whole lot of things. And I would say a great leader will enable feeling good with the colleagues, with the team members. How do you do that? By offering standard comments? It may work once. Then you have to have subtle ways of creating. That is your creativity and originality. How do you provide that feeling good for your colleagues to work with you, to work for you? That's why I want you to understand the dynamics of good and bad. There is the overall dimension. I have classified it into much more thing. That is, the dimension of good begins with on one side the great, great, good, neutral, bad, and evil. This is that spectrum. So we are not talking about feeling great. Okay, you feel great when you read a wonderful book, when you see a wonderful phenomenon of the nature process, when you have a moment of truth, you feel really great about it. Or sometimes you are able to give that feeling great to other people also. Anyway, evil is not at all a topic for us, for this group to be discussed. Everyone understands that. And I have identified. I am really very happy that I have covered almost all classical literature on ethics, all journals on ethics. I am the only one who has some clarity about what comprises the dimensions of ethics. Nobody talks about that. I have identified three spokes, which that what helped me in doing that. That also I will tell you the concept of three. That you also should work out. For everything, there must be the threeness, Trinity. Nothing can exist by itself. For everything to come into existence, whether imaginary existence or illusory existence or practical material existence, there is the need of three linkages, no doubt about that. Even if it is the so called Almighty Super God, if there is one, a single unitary so called God positioned in somewhere, which is absolutely stupid notion, but the so called God everywhere, so called fundamental force that enables existence of all kinds everywhere needs, of course, there are plenty of linkages, but primarily there are three. Anyway, coming back, the threeness helped me doing this. So the one dimension is the good, rather the great, good, neutral, bad, evil. Second is right and wrong. What are that is right? And there can be like a great, there can be so many different kinds of rights. Right meaning appropriate, suitable, comfortable, and so on and so forth. And wrong meaning not suitable, not appropriate, non-acceptable, etc., etc. All synonyms of wrong under wrong. All synonyms of right under right. Find out and create your own chart. And the third dimension is correct versus incorrect. So let us start with correct and incorrect. What is the difference between correct and right? Come on. What could be the difference? What difference you can think of?
Correct is a more absolute term, right is more personal,
When you
or
say,
right is subjective.
yeah, very good. Anybody else? Of course, that is one very good. Right
So
is
I would,
no, right is subjective, then correct is objective.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yes.
am I audible, sir?
Yeah. Yes. Clear.
I would use another analogy and say right and wrong is, let's say, digital. It is 0 or 1, while correct can have varied degrees of it, like in terms of perspective.
Actually, Tintin, if
Or
you think about that, you are not just to reverse it.
okay,
Correct is digital. 0 1 0 1 is correct. If it is 1 1, it is correct. A plus B the whole square, that is correct. You don't say right. Correct is from the perspective of an available parameter. Correct fitting nut, correct fitting spanner, correct fitting gear. Get the point, Tintin?
mm-mm.
We cannot say the right spanner. Right is a qualifying word. It is a judgment. It is, as Nitya said, it is relative. It is a personal perspective. And whenever we talk about ethics, in the entire, most of the books in ethics, they talk only about the right and wrong and good and bad, very sporadically, interchanging them, like training and teaching. Nobody is clear about what is training and what is teaching. So, this clarification you can maintain, and I am telling you, nobody can dispute it. The three dimensions. So, like a procedure, let us say an official procedure. It is the clear terms are given by the organization. You have to follow it correctly. Indian Penal Code. Whereas about behaviors, expressions, relationships, languages, okay, etc., it is right and wrong, where people may differ. In all discussions on ethics, they reach nowhere because they all say in the very introduction itself, individuals differ in their perspective of right and wrong, good and bad. Of course. But individuals cannot differ in terms of what is correct and incorrect, provided it is clarified. There is right behavior in the class and correct answer to the question. Get the point? You can look into the concept sense and clear it. Look into the concept sense of right and correct. Then you will be clear. So I'm also having my breakfast. You had your breakfast, Anuradhanu?
Yes, sir, I have.
So good is about a greater feeling of judgment about something being correct or right. Get the point? When it is a
Political.
judgment. When you see your child is doing mathematical problems correctly, you feel good about it.
But sometimes things are politically correct, but it is not right.
Yeah, correct. Correct. So try to be very clear about these three dimensions. Rather, good is a mental experience. Right and wrong are logical judgments. Their individuals differ according to their logic, their analysis, their bias, their side, etc. For Islamic fundamentalists, to kill or jihad is way to the heaven. That is what is written in the Quran. So they feel it was correct, and doing so is right, and who are doing that is good. Good is that feeling aspect, which is very powerful. As I told you, when the little baby is given to the concept of good, it is the mental dynamics is very powerful. I know, very serious, very subtle, and very complex. For example, I know you have done a project and you submit a project report. You will not say it is correct, but you will say, it is right. It's a good report. When you are told it is right, okay, you feel a moment of good. You feel a moment of pleasure, but it is a good report. Then the feeling is little more lasting. You do a lot of right things, you do a lot of correct things, you don't feel good about it. But when somebody says it is good, it is more powerful because that is the only way children, the child behavior and responses are trained by the parents. Now I will show you a diagrammatic representation. This is a diagrammatic sketch or a process chart of my theory of ethics. I asked you a question in the beginning. Why individuals, human beings, as well as other creatures are able to sense the so-called good and bad, a good feeling and a bad feeling, or a good experience or a bad experience. And I said there could be some kind of a sensor, definitely, invariably, inevitably. Otherwise, how is it possible? And it is doing what I call an analysis process, a quick analysis, okay, very super speed analysis with incoming stimuli. You are sitting comfortably, then a guy who is familiar is entering the room with a ferocious expression, and instantly that is analyzed. So that analysis process, though marked here, that is the entry gate, entry level process. Get the point?
Yes, sir.
The little baby is not able to analyze it. But gradually the environment gives appropriate treatment to the baby, that by punishment or by shouting or by some environmental strength, the child is feeling the so-called displeasure or pain. Okay, there is a pain, there is displeasure, the child is shouted at. But then what in the child is not tolerating it? The mother or father is shouting, let us say. There is a heavy sound and an unexpected expression or behavior on the part of the most critical entities in the environment. But why the child should have that feeling? That's what I said. There's a more deeper element involved. Rather, why the pain is dislikable or why the so-called pain is feeling bad, bad about feeling pain. Who did that program? So anyway, what that's all dynamics you can inquire if you want to and research into yourself. Taking a case study of your own experience, of course, always take your own experience. Now, so there is an analysis process. Okay. So let's begin there. That is there already. That analytical engine is all the time operating. That sensor. Good, bad, right, wrong, sensor. Forget about correct, incorrect. Because correct, incorrect, you may not know. Just based on strict parameters. 2 plus 2 is 4. You may not be able to all the time judge what is correct or incorrect in a definable man-created system setting. But right, wrong, good, bad is the critical thing. So the top, that gray area, there is an environment. I'm just explaining the theory. Okay. You can take a picture of this and keep and work on it. That environment can be the cross environment of your own family or your own people. Then the local environment. It could be your neighborhood, your district, or your state, or that much wherever it is going at a given point of concern. Now, right now, and then beyond. It means globally. Right now, you can be concerned about, you can feel bad about Chinese intent or American intent. You can feel bad about Wuhan virus. You can feel bad about many, many such things. See, even there you feel bad. Anyway, that's I always told you. Think about the spectrum of possibilities of feeling bad in life. Okay, so that long blue bar, environment cross local beyond, where there are situations, events, episodes, people, contexts, etc., etc. That is ongoing. That is all the time there, a constant. It is a constant. With the variations of events and episodes and people and their erbats, expression, response, behaviors, etc. Now, that great, good, neutral, bad, etc., uh, so-called analytical judgment or analytical conclusion made by that internal judge inside you. It is judged good, bad, right, wrong, etc. based on the impact of these situations, etc. from the environment on the body or the mind or the intellect. That much is clear? Yeah.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah, please.
Sir, the feeling of good and bad, is it more of a physiological process? Like you eat good food, you feel good about it. Is there an analysis involved there?
Yeah, because you not only feel good, you have eaten a so-called food, and then you feel good about it. Somebody may not feel good about it, for example. That is an extra process. Food has gone into your mouth, to your intestinal canal. Okay, let us say absolutely it is good in the absolute sense. But what in you enables that feeling good? There must be an analysis. For example, you eat a food and you feel good about it. Let's say your mother prepares food and you eat it and you feel good. And somebody else eat the same thing and they feel, no, 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 this is not good. See? It's not
So
only in the
even if it is
physiology. Yeah.
no, even if it is not an absolute feeling, it is something related to the pleasure principle that
Yeah, of
Freud
course,
said.
it is connected with the pleasure principle.
It's more a body level. Of course,
Yeah.
mind is also involved. I won't say no, but
That is in the case of the that's what I have written. It can be at the body level, it can be just at the mental level, and it can be at the intellect level, attention, thinking, conceptualization level also. You think about things. That's why a thinker is always considered looking very melancholy, very depressed person. You feel depressed about the global situation or terrorist attack and all that, though it happened far, far away. It is based on that intellectual reasoning. Okay, you work out that and think about it also. No? It's a
okay.
tentative framework.
Hmm.
It triggers your on the right side. You see, it triggers your emotions, your feelings, and if you have suffered from that directly, suffered meaning experience. This I will go into this detail. And I want you to go to these details. That practically I want you to be beyond good and bad. Rather, not to be a victim of pressure principle. That is a Zen master state. When the entire population, entire king and parivaram came to the Zen master's house telling that he is the father of the child, it must have been quite possibly a bad experience. It was based on an incorrect statement by the daughter. But she did it as a right procedure. Get the point, Nitya? Because that's the only way to save the man.
Yeah.
Because if
Yes.
she reveals the identity of the lover, the father will immediately go there and finish off the entire clan.
Yes.
So she gives an incorrect answer as a right thing to do, see, in order to save the man, as well as to save the mindset of the father for the time being. Now, the father, as soon as he saw the child, he thinks, what is he thinking? That such an event happening from a esteemed Zen monk, was it perceived
Incorrect.
incorrect or wrong? Bad and all is judgment. Forget about that. Incorrect or wrong? Was it incorrect or wrong?
Both.
Yeah, wrong. There is no correct or incorrect about it. It was wrong. So-called wrong.
Yeah.
Then what is wrong and all? It's again, that's why I told you all philosophies began with ethics. Rather, all philosophies began with ethics. Look at the Indian Upanishads, the Indian Purana. What is Bible? Nothing but a story of the struggle between the good and the bad and the evil. What is Mahabharata? Nothing but the decade-long warfare, struggle, conflict between the good and the bad. Look at all stories. Look at all films. Look at day-to-day events reported in the newspaper. They are all about good. Government has done a good project. Government has done a bad project. Government has taken a good decision. Government has taken a bad decision. I mean, judgment of the people. And it is all the more complex. If good and bad is inherently programmed in the mind, why? That is again another chapter of the book. Why the same human beings are able to do the real bad and evil when their sensor knows that it is really bad and evil? When they also want to eliminate bad and evil, when they also cannot tolerate bad and evil, on what basis they are able to do it? See? That means they feel something good by doing bad. See? In the relationship with the evidence.
Feeling.
Yeah. And what, I mean, okay, feeling, that's okay. But with the psychological, I mean, the mental aspects you feel. But it is not an evidence for the other person who induced that feeling in you.
Mhm.
See? Something is taken as an evidence. So he looked at me like that. He talked to me like that. He behaved to me like that. China is sending his warplanes. Okay, that becomes the evidence which America is getting whatever provoked.
In relationships, it is the words people use. There, those are the warfares.
Yeah, if you look at relationship, it's all as well as language. Relationship and language, yes.
Mm.
The evidence is mostly in the right and wrong area.
Once again,
The evidence is mostly in the right and wrong area or the correct and incorrect
yeah,
area.
correct and
Not in the
incorrect.
good and
Yeah.
bad.
Correct and incorrect, it is easy to manage, you know.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can bring in evidence, you can go the
Yeah, it
data,
is
you
easy to
can
manage.
collect the data, yes.
Mm.
But the other, other aspects is mostly the right and
Yeah,
wrong aspect.
yeah.
That's it. It stands out as the evidence. The good and bad is something which follows right and wrong.
Yeah. Good and bad is the experiential judgment level.
Hmm.
You, an individual is not doing something good, so called. He is doing something right. Then you feel good about it.
Yeah,
Of course, you can feel good when somebody does correct also.
yeah.
Like the normal school teacher's feeling. Already Narayana അറിയാൻ പറ്റുന്നത്. And why people make mistakes of analysis. I have written. There are different modes of analysis which we discussed in some other context. Instant spontaneous analysis. Everybody is doing analysis of good, bad, right, wrong. Everybody. It is instantaneous. It is programmed. That's what we discussed in the beginning. It can be about anything, even about affairs which are not at all clear to the judgment maker. There will be some spontaneous analysis. I have written instant spontaneous versus systematic and creative. That's the one you have to develop, but we'll talk later. Or you think later. It's all easy to understand now for you. Biased analysis and setting specific analysis.
Okay.
കുട്ടി വീട്ടിൽ വന്നിട്ട് അമ്മേ oh mother, oh mama, he beat me. Then mama is instantly worried and furious and go to the neighborhood and enter in the quarrel with the mother of the other child. Actually, this child did something wrong first. That is not covered in the dialogues. So, because of that initial dialogue of the person or initial presentation, the observer or the recipient of the situation makes a biased analysis. This is all what is going on in the society. That's why we need courts and advocates and all that to present a case in the court. In fact, in all court cases, that is what. By the way, I told you, entire world, entire jurisdiction, entire police department, entire penal code, they are all about good, bad, right, wrong. Anu. Correct, incorrect, based on the Indian Penal Code. Setting specific. What is setting specific analysis? A certain person does certain something just because of the context. That's why he happened to do that. But the penal code will not allow that. Then analysis based on drives, motives, needs. I need a lot of money. I have to pay the fees of my child. So let me take some bribe or let me go and steal. Motives. Motives is a critical term in terms of higher order crimes and other penal, real offenses. What is the motive? The court has to establish the motive, then only the culprit will be punished. Final sentence. The motive has to be clarified. That's why mentally ill people, if they commit a crime, they may not be punished because they are not sure about their motives. They don't know why they did that. For example. Then some people do all kinds of evil, bad things because of their erratic, individual-specific mindsets, mental blocks, social network connections, bad people contact, etc., etc. There is, I don't know whether you know, because of the time pass, I watch the news from Kerala state very regularly. It is an entertainment for me. Because every day there is real entertainment. Crimes and things to such an extent. So now even school students, girl students are taking what you call psychotropic substances. And about 5 or 6 girls were caught in one of the top schools in Kerala state, girls' schools, Cotton Hill schools, wherever in Trivandrum. Anyway, lot of girls become victims of so-called love jihad and narcotic jihad. They are all I think their sensitivity, that what I said, that sensor is not really precise in their function. They are not able to identify. They are all trapped by the good of the approaching person. Get the point? A lot of Muslim men are consciously trying to trap Hindu and Christian girls. It is going on. But it is not, it cannot be attacked easily because the Indian Penal Code allows people to fall in love and people to marry in between castes. So, on what basis? So, start a new analytical engine inside you to monitor, to be aware of the moments, the events, the episodes, the expressions and responses and behaviors and actions and ways of relating and language of other people being categorized, analyzed into good, bad, and right, wrong, and correct, incorrect. And be a researcher into that, and you will benefit by getting clarity of that, and above all, you will feel a certain unique power of integrity with you. Yes. So that's all.
Thank you, Sundarji.
Yeah.
It is.
And using it as the base, work out your own diagrammatic expansion of that. And there are so many points that can be added also, and expanded into full diagram, because most of the things I did not include it there because I am not that comfortable. There is neither the space in the single what you call PowerPoint plane to incorporate all the variables. That also is there. So you can take a much more larger paper and work out all that comes to you and linkage. Work out the linkage. You can begin with analysis. Whichever way. No. You do the way you understand it better. So purpose is that you have to be crystal clear about other people's good, bad, right, wrong, correct, incorrect, as well as yours. And that will help you having much better conceptualization of human situations, which are constantly going on around. And even your moods are affected by the so-called analytical conclusions of other people's remote controls. That also shall not happen. Because by which your entity becomes that much deteriorated. Is that the point? Even why there is so much of illness. I'm almost completing my research into the philosophy of Ayurveda. Almost all illnesses are the results of, let us say, ethics, let us say at that level. So many feeling bad, good, conflict between feeling bad and good and right and wrong and guilt and worry and all those things, which are all neuronal process. Not all, but there could be other illnesses due to some physical imbalances or some fall or some early childhood major illnesses improperly managed and things like that. Other than that, why there should be illnesses for human beings? There is no reason at all other than this internal warfare going on. And it is cumulative, nothing will happen today, but a gradual accumulation. That's why a great lot of people become weak by the age of 60, 65, 70. Weak, I mean, body may look old, but they are weak mentally and physically. Body can look a little bit weak and muscular power may become a little bit reduced, but weak in body movements, weak in eating, and memory problems, behavioral problems, and many people do not know their problems because many people do not interact with elderly people. They are just sitting in a corner, and many people do not interact with them because you cannot interact with them. They have nothing to talk about. They have no pleasant mood, and they quickly fall into fault finding and commanding and controlling and things like that. Great lot of issues are there with old age people. There is an entire domain of psychology to talk about the old age problems. all over the world. But if you understand this process of non-conscious analysis and judgment of good, bad, right, wrong about feelings and experiences, you will have no problems at all. Because as I understand, what else is going to intimidate your system? Okay, some food poisoning, errors in food, or so-called low-quality vegetables and all, that is a different issue. Or climate variations and other viruses, that's a different issue. They are all mechanical attacks on your body. And when I am mastering my understanding about Rasayanic processes, and when I have finally arrived at a wonderful preparation comprising about 3 items by which the entire body can be regaining its youthfulness, my understanding that raga di roga, that means emotional conflicts and this kind of mental, what you call, derangement is the only cause of illness. Because those rasayanas work on the central nervous system and the alimentary system and the muscular system. Nothing else. It is not a medicine. It is not. The rasayanas are not medicines for any illness. They are all servicing agents only. Somewhat like food. And even if food is a medicine, but rasayanas are not that. So from that I understood very clearly. And for the so-called enlightenment, only a really integrated body process can see that, though it is all the time around the corner. You will slip into that. You can only slip into enlightenment. You can never consciously enter into the gateless gate. You can only slip. So that slip will happen when the body is so-called integrated. I don't mean healthy or anything, integrated. Integrity by way of least what you call conflicts in the central nervous system impulse rate. Okay, be wonderful. Don't stop your journey towards the great. You're already good. Be great. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you, Sunilji.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.